So this is the series of videos that we went through at Baxi for the Better Back Workshop. They're great exercises for rehabilitating back, conditioning core. They're good if you have a seated job, but they're also good foundation exercises as part of a general conditioning program. So it doesn't matter whether you're in pain or whether you're not in pain, regardless of what you do, they're good foundation exercises. Please listen to the instructions carefully, and you'll hear me say if anything creates pain, don't go there, regress the exercise. Less is more. Thank you. Okay, so this is the first exercise of the program. It's a chest opener, and it's actually a stretch and a mobilization exercise. Sasha's showing the regress version with the arms crossed behind the spine. So if we go to the next version of the exercise, we took the toes underneath, support on one heel and reach up with the opposite hand. Note that Sasha isn't loading up that heel, so there's next to no weight on that hand, so you're actually trying to make the gap between each finger's long and there's no load. You're reaching up as if you're going to touch the ceiling. So you'll hear me say this on all of the videos, don't go where pain is. Don't force it. Allow your body to get into the exercise or the mobilization. Sasha's now advanced it slightly by flattening the feet, so this requires a little bit more extension. If you're tight down the front of the legs, you might even feel it down the front of the legs as well as in the shoulders. We're going to go on each side, so I would hold for approximately 5 seconds, 5 to 8 seconds. So another option there. Cool. So a little cue that can be used to ensure that the hips stay forward is to put yourself up against a wall, keep your hips against the wall. So when you lean back, if you can't keep your hips against the wall, lift the heels up or don't lean back as much to ensure that the hips stay in extension. Okay, let's go. So this is a really nice chest opener and shoulder opener. Again, another good anti-desk posture or anti-desk exercise. It's a regress version of downward dog. So you can see Sasha's got a nice elongated spine, arms are extended. We're using a towel, folded up towel, just to give a little bit of support on the forehead if it's not comfortable to put your forehead on the floor. And you should feel relaxed in this position. If it doesn't feel comfortable, regress the range of motion. Obviously, if you want to increase the range of motion, you can take the support away and you can start to relax deeper into the stretch as the chest begins to open and the shoulders begin to open. So the second stretch is a low lunge. This is to open up the hips again. Again, when we have prolonged periods in seating, the iliacus muscle that runs on the inside of the pelvis can become very facilitated. We've crossed the arms behind the back. There's a shoulder opener as well. It's so easy to drop into shoulder protraction, when at a desk. And we're coming nice and tall through the spine, slightly posterior rotation of the pelvis, so we're tucking the bum underneath so we can feel the opening of the front of the hip. You could hold for around 5 seconds, come out of it, relax, and then go back in. And again, only go where it's comfortable. So before we start the next exercise, horse stance decompression or quadruped, we've just put this dowel along Sasha's back just so I can demonstrate what a neutral spine looks like. You can see, if I just zoom in slightly on Sasha's lower back, with this slight lordosis here, which is equal to Sasha's lumbar curve, so just a little bit more there, Sash. Yeah, there we go, so about equal to Sasha's. So this is opposite the belly button. You can see that Sasha's head is touching the dowel, her mid-back is touching the dowel, and the dowel is also resting on her sacrum just above her waistline there. There's a bend in the elbows, the hands are underneath the shoulders, and the knees are stacked underneath the hips. So horse stance decompression. We've assumed a neutral spine, as I've just shown you with the dowel. And it's going to look like Sasha's hardly moving. I'm going to get her to move a little bit more than what I actually want you to move. But what we're going to do is transfer the weight into two limbs, so one hand and one knee, whilst decompressing the other two. So before we go, we're going to have a little squeeze of belly button to encourage that intra-abdominal pressure. And then just for the sake of the video so you can see, I'm going to Sasha to lift one hand and one knee off the floor. So you can see this is the diagonal that Sasha's working on, except when you do it, you shouldn't even be able to see it coming off the floor. I mean, it's literally such a small movement that you could just about slide a piece of paper underneath these limbs, yeah. You can also see that when Sash does lift these diagonals, there is no change in the spine, and also that she's resisting rotation. So if you just show us some poor form, so if you lift one, let's go on the other diagonal, Sash, and I want you to hoik. Yeah, so you can now see, look, there's a shoulder that's dropped, and Sasha shift a weight excessively over the supporting leg, and the pelvis rotated. Can you just do that again? Okay, some of you may have a tendency to do this where you'll see this difference in the shoulders. Okay, so now square the shoulders up, but just shift the hip over as if you're going to tip water out of you. So hoik one hip up. So lift one knee. That's it, and hoik, cock this pelvis over. Yeah, so you'll see, can you see now that the pelvis, Sasha's brain has said, well, look, I can't get stability, so I'm going to put it all down that femur, that supporting leg. Okay, so this is what we don't want to see. Okay, so when we go on the diagonal, so if you just go on that diagonal again, Sash, whichever diagonal, that you're resisting rotation. This contralateral pattern, in other words, the opposite arm, opposite leg, is exactly the same neural pattern as we do when we're upright and we're walking. So if you have a problem or pain walking or running, this is a great exercise for you. It's working your TVA, and if you can just put your arm where your TVA is, Sash. So this muscle that lays across your stomach. Okay, so this is why we're just engaging that belly button a little bit. The TVA also decompresses the lumbar vertebrae, which is commonly compressed through long periods of being seated. Okay, so if you just go again on the diagonal, Sash. And again, it's a one-sided exercise, so if one side's more challenging than the other, you equal the more challenging side. And we're going to go about 5 to 8 seconds a diagonal. No breath holding, no pain. If you feel yourself shifting your weight over to one side, butt yourself up against a wall. So when you do go on a diagonal, if you lean over, you'll feel yourself touching the wall. And again, no breath holding. Great exercise. Professor Stuart McGill, who's an expert in spinal rehabilitation, this is one of his favourite exercises. That's great. Dead bug exercise. This is a fantastic exercise. Great for back rehabilitation. Great for abdominal conditioning. So we start in a laid position with our hands pressed against a wall, or you can partner up with someone and put your hands on their knees. That's a great version of it. So we're going to maintain a neutral spine, which is about a knuckles width gap underneath the belly button. If you can just demonstrate that, Sash, with your hand, where I mean. So about a knuckles width gap where Sasha's hand is there. You may need, if you have quite a rounding in the upper back, you may even need some support under your head to be able to get your head in neutral as well, so your chin isn't sticking excessively to the ceiling. So we're then going to draw the knees up towards the chest, maintaining that neutral spine. Actually, Sash, just go back to the start position and put your feet on the floor. So the most regressed version of this, you would have a squeeze of the belly button to engage the abdominals, press onto the wall, and just decompress the feet off the floor. That's it, that's as much. For some people, and especially those who've got a disc herniation or disc bulges or some quite bad lower back issues, that will be the version. It looks like Sasha's not doing anything, but she's actually just taking the weight off the feet. If you need to regress that further still, you would only go 1 foot at a time. So if you can just take 1 foot slightly off the ground, Sasha, just to demonstrate that. So you're just taking the weight off 1 foot, but you've got to be able to maintain that abdominal, that intra-abdominal pressure to stabilize the spine. And again, 5 seconds aside. So you then put that foot down, 5 seconds the other side. So that may be the first version for you, depending on the health of your lower back and how much intra-abdominal pressure you can create. So the next version, you would step up 1 leg at a time, knees to chest, as we began. Yeah, and just bring the other leg up. Okay. So now we're going to hold one knee stationary while extending from the hip, not from the knee, towards the floor. But again, you're only going to go as far to the floor with the foot or extend the hip as you can maintain that neutral lumbar spine. So the curve in your lower back shouldn't increase, shouldn't decrease. There should be no breath holding. That's a big one. No shaking. And the tempo that Sasha's doing there is lovely, especially this eccentric phase. So you could go really slow there, and even if you need to come back a little quicker, we're quite a bit stronger eccentric than we are concentric. Muscles are like elastic bands. They've got to be able to elongate to generate power for contraction. So if you find you're holding your breath, make this exercise easier. If you're shaking, make it easier. If you get in pain anywhere, make it easier. So the next advanced version, or the more advanced version of that, as Sasha just demonstrated, would be both legs at once. Obviously double the load. Again, maintaining a neutral lumbar curve. Great. Okay, so the next exercise is a side plank exercise. We're going to start in the regress version, so with a bent knee, and we can use the top leg to aid some stability and some support if need be. We're going off the forearm, so we've got to ensure that the knees are not in front of the hips. So you have a straight line from knee to shoulder. Okay, so we're going to squeeze the obliques and lift the pelvis off the floor. So where Sasha's hand is, you should feel a squeeze. You can leave the hand there, or you can open the hand up. Ensure that the neck is in line with the spine, so that the head isn't tilted excessively up or down. We're going to hold for around 5 seconds, and then we're going to switch sides. So bear in mind, any one-sided exercise, we're only going to equal the side that you feel more challenging if there is an asymmetry. So for example, if you could only do it with good technique on one side for only 2 or 3 seconds, you only do it for 2 or 3 seconds on the other side, regardless of whether you could do 2 or 3 times the amount of time. That way we're going to build symmetry and not perpetuate an asymmetry. So just like I talked about owning the foot in the reverse lunges, you also need to own the hand, so that the thumb and index finger needs to be firmly planted on the floor. Watch that you're not making a heel with your hand. The hand wants to be flat on the floor. Body in line, shoulders stacked on top of one another, pressing through the knee that's on the floor and keeping the pelvis nice and high. Good shoulder exercise, good oblique exercise. Okay, do you want to show the next version of that, Sash? So we're going to advance the exercise slightly. So we're going to now straighten the leg. So we're pushing off the bottom foot, because it's all of that, the side of the body that's facing the floor is doing most of the work. So we've advanced the exercise by straightening the legs. Again, hips and shoulders are in a line, so we're resisting rotation, elevating through the top hands, squeezing them bottom obliques, and are again around 5 seconds aside. We can further progress that by decompressing the top leg off the bottom leg. quite challenging, requires quite a lot of stability, so we can then take that top leg off the bottom leg. But the deal is you don't do that unless you can maintain that hip stability. Quite challenging. So 5 seconds aside. Rolling. So this exercise is a reverse lunge, and we're using the band for assistance. We're going to show you some progressions shortly. So we're doing alternate reverse lunges. You can see Sasha's got a nice long spine. The knee is going over the toes, and the knee is staying relatively in line with the second toe, so we're not letting the knee buckle outwards or excessively inwards. You may want to brace through the knee, so I'd encourage a nice soft knee, and watch that the knee doesn't fall behind the ankle. So okay, so the next progression would be to go to single arm. So Sasha's doing so many repetitions on the right arm, alternate legs, and then we could change to left arm. You could also go, just stay on one side, so you go the opposite arm, opposite leg, or the same arm, same leg. So that's ipsilateral, and then the opposite arm, opposite leg would be contralateral. Yeah, so opposite arm, opposite leg, and again maintaining a neutral spine. Very other important factor is that when we focus on the feet, the foot is staying firmly on the floor. You may have a tendency to want to roll to the outside of the foot. Watch for any funky toe stuff going off. So toes shouldn't grip the ground. Toes shouldn't curl up. No breath holding. Remember, don't go where pain is. So the next progression will be unaided, just with body weight. You can see a dowel in the corner of the room there, so you could even use a dowel. So if you want to grab the dowel, Sash, and just demonstrate the same exercise with the dowel. So the band offers more stability. This offers less stability, but still some support. And again, you could change arms. Or the more advanced version would be with no support, and then of course if we can do it with good form with no support, we'd then start to add weight to the move. So we weight the move, don't move the weight. You could do this for time or repetitions.